Oh, you beauty! What a head, son! What a head!
Yes, Travis.
Yes.
How are you, brother?
It feels like we haven't been on for ages. I don't know why, but it just feels like we've not been on for a minute. There's been a lot of football we've missed. How you doing?
It's because we've had a quiet week with nothing happening. I say nothing happening. Man United in the FA Cup quarter-final, that was something else, wasn't it? It was different, that game.
It was.
Let me see. We've got 6 people watching straight away and people in the comments straight away. Dan from Two Blues. Dan is the man. I've been telling you guys for months, Dan's the man. Looking forward to this one, boys. Don't take Ornstein's word as gospel. End of the day, he's a reporter, and it was just a think piece. Absolutely, Dan. This is the thing about reporters or journos or whatever you want to call them. They make a prediction. Indy Kayla is probably the worst for it. I don't even know. Is he a reporter? Is he a journo? Is he a wind-up merchant? I don't know what he is, but these journos are reporters. They make a piece. And it is basically it's a prediction, and then if it goes right, they can retweet it or quote it saying I'm in the know. And if it's wrong, they just bury it with the rest of their predictions or pieces, and no one even bats an eyelid. Which is why we've started this podcast. So we'll make predictions, we'll make summaries about what we've heard, about what we think is going to happen, and then we might even make it into a short if we get it right or disastrously wrong. So Dalaval, thank you so much for joining me, brother. Fabrizio Romano said it was not off. All he said was the money could be an issue, but I still think he coming to Liverpool. He's Liverpool bound, and apparently Gavi could be leaving on a free. I've seen that today. What is that? Yeah, Gavi. How's he leaving on a free?
Why?
So I can have my say. Absolutely, brother. Yeah, I've seen it on Twitter, something today. Gavi on a free, and I thought he's the next Xavi and Iniesta.
He's unreal, mate. I don't know. I don't even know how long he's left on his contract, but I've not really seen that rumor, to be fair. I've seen a few bits flying around about other players, but I've not actually seen anything on Gavi. But if you manage to get him, that would be a great signing. He is top draw. He's very creative, quite offensive minded as well. So he's definitely different to what you've got. Has he been linked with Liverpool then, Dalival? Is that what Dalival's saying?
I've seen it today as well. I've seen someone else write on Twitter, and I thought, why would he be free? I don't know. Is he under 18 or something? He's not allowed to sign a contract, and we're trying to poach him.
I think he is 18. I think
surely not. Is he the one that always plays with his laces undone, or is that Pedri?
Nah, I think that they're both of a similar age. They're both very young, but they're both techie as hell. They're both such good players, mate. Unbelievable, both of them. That's who I thought Barcelona would be building their team around. To be fair, the pair of them. Obviously, they've got Frank Kessie, who's not really settled there. He scored the winner against Real Madrid at the weekend, which was an unbelievable watch. I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to take the time out to watch the full game, and the quality in terms of technical ability was very high in that game. So if you can get any of those midfielders that were on show, it's going to be a good signing for Liverpool. I'll tell you that right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've just Googled him. So he's 18.
Yeah,
18
I thought
and
he
a half.
was.
Yeah, it is. Gavi, he plays every game with his boots untied, his laces. Yeah, flying around. And I've looked at all the images before, and I think, how does he not fall over them?
And how does they not come off his feet when he's shooting and stuff? How do they not fly off?
But anyway, this podcast is primarily about Jude Bellingham, where he is and isn't going in the summer. And then we're going to touch on, of course, Man United and Fulham, that extraordinary game on Sunday, which you were out. You were out, absolutely getting put to sleep, weren't you? Put to bed, tucked in by Fulham. You said they're a tidy Fulham, and, you know, all the Premier League sides are tidy. It's such a strong league at the minute. There's no poor teams. Even the likes of Bournemouth are getting results, and Southampton are getting results. It's just a crazy league. But, yeah, I thought Man United are out here, and I'm loving it. But yeah, let's head to Jude Bellingham first. What a 48 hours it's been. David Ornstein says it's off. Okay. Now that's an easy assumption to make, knowing how our owners operate, knowing they've got tight purse strings, knowing they don't invest their own money, knowing they don't over leverage the club, knowing that they keep ramming this self-sustained model down our throats. It's easy. I mean, even I talked myself into it, and I've been Jude bipolar Bellingham over this since the World Cup, since he keeps getting pictured with Hendo, with Trent. It's like they've got this bromance going on, the three of them. When you look at it, you think he must be signing. And then I think to our owners and I think, how? Why after 13 years, all of a sudden would our owners loosen the purse strings and sanction a player over £100 million? Because that's what it will take when we haven't got any player that we know of yet. I know I've touched on it a bit and I will again tonight. So that if I'm right, I can make a short of it like I'm a respected journalist. But Travis, from the outside looking in, what's going to happen?
To me, there's so many facets to this deal. Like with Bellingham, it doesn't strike me as a person that's like really financially driven and orientated, like around wages and salary and things like that. So that to me works in Liverpool's favour, because if he wants to play for Liverpool, he can join Liverpool. Put it that way. It's going to be down to then whether Liverpool can stump up the cash and how Dortmund want the payment. So that's one thing, how Dortmund want paying. The second thing is where his sort of heart lies. If his heart lies at Liverpool, he'll want that move. So it's going to be about him driving and pushing that move as much as he can. The biggest thing for me, though, what sticks out about this deal is the Champions League football. Do you know what I mean? He's had a taste of Champions League football. He's been playing Champions League football with Dortmund for a couple of years now, and I think he's more or less guaranteed to play at the highest level at Dortmund. So if he's gonna move, I think it is gonna massively depend on whether Liverpool reach the Champions League or not. I think
do you think it really would come down to that, like just for one season?
Yeah, because you can't pay the money. That's the thing. No one can't pay the money.
No, I mean, so like, just looking from Jude's point of view. So forget the money. So just from Jude's point of view, let's say somehow the owners did still stump up this money. And I can't even believe I'm saying it because I know FSG, they're not gonna. But let's just say they did. Do you think Jude would be like, nah, one season out of the Champions League, I'm going to change my target, change my plans?
Well, you got to think of it. I know what you're saying, but you got to think of it as him being an asset to Dortmund as well. So how long's left on his deal? Like a year after this?
No, it'd be 2 or 3, I think.
Right.
He's well secured, isn't he? And there's no release clause according to reports anyway. But let's just get down to the nuts and bolts of it. He's leaving in the summer.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
They've honed his skills. They've developed him. He's had a brilliant time of it. He's got the experience playing in another country. He's a fixture in the England side. He's got the Dortmund captain's armband a lot of the time. I don't know if that's just when Hummels is out or is he full-time captain.
No, I think
it would be crazy if he didn't leave in the summer now. So let's just take it as read that he's leaving.
He is leaving, 100%. He's leaving 100%.
And let's just take it that the price, it's over 100 million, isn't it?
Yeah, and Dortmund would be stupid not to sell, really, because that is their model. Do you know what I mean? They sell like Sancho, Haaland. They do it with a lot of their players. Lewandowski, Aubameyang. The list is endless. They always sell their top star when it's right for them. Do you know what I mean? They never sell them all at once. They always sell them when it's right for them. And I think now is the time for them to let Jude go. Do you know what I mean? He's given them a good service because he's been playing unbelievably for a couple of years now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's about the right time for both of them. And it's just going to boil down to two things for me, whether Liverpool have got the money and whether you're in the Champions League. I just can't see him turning down. If Real Madrid and Man City are serious, I can't see him saying, like, nah, I'm going to go to Liverpool and play in the Europa League if them two clubs come calling as well. That's if you don't finish in the Champions League. But if you do finish in the Champions League, I think you've got a massive chance of getting him, because I don't think he's one of those players who's like, oh, whoever's going to pay me the most, I'll go to them, because he'd go to City. It'd be nailed on. Do you know what I mean?
For me, that works both ways as well, though, Trav. Because if he's coming to Liverpool, it's not just for one season in the Champions League. So I know you just said, well, he's not going to come if you're not in the Champions League. He's not coming to us because we're in the Champions League. He's coming to us maybe because his dad's a Liverpool fan. They want to come back to England, which obviously would narrow it down to Liverpool, Man City, maybe Man United if they throw the hat in the ring.
Yeah.
But his hero is Steven Gerrard. He said it countless times. So he wants to emulate his hero. He wants to wear the number 8 shirt. You can tell he's got this bromance with Henderson, with Trent Arnold. They're all the reasons that we think he wants to come. And let's be honest, he's going to be paid handsomely. He's going to be straight on, not far off what Salah's on. We've got to be real about this, haven't we? He's not coming in on Luis Diaz's 80 grand a week. He's going to come in as the top on par with, isn't he?
On the top dollar.
So when you look at it in that sense, and I feel like I'm trying to talk you into it here. when I spent the last 2 days, I spent the last 2 days talking myself out of it. But if he's going to come for all them reasons, then one season out of the Champions League is not going to be like, I tell you what, Gerrard's not my hero anymore. My dad's not a Liverpool fan anymore. Let's call the whole thing off. I'm just going to head straight to Madrid now when I'm 19 or turning 20 in June and just do 12, 13, 14 years in Madrid. There's a reason why Liverpool's on the table. And that's not going to be just 1 year in the Champions League, surely.
No, it's not. And I think because he's got age on his side, he might be thinking, though, I'm not saying those clubs are bigger than Liverpool, but like, for example, a Real Madrid, he could give you 5 years and still go to Real Madrid when he's 25. Like, that's not out of the question either. Do you know what I mean? And I think everybody's a winner. You're getting 5 years of a top quality player. He moves on. He then becomes even more profitable than he is now. If he progresses the way that he's progressing, he moves on. And everybody's a winner in that sense. So like you said, the world's his oyster. He's got every choice you could ever possibly imagine. And like you said, the fee is the only thing that I think could potentially put Liverpool out of the equation, because like you said, it's going to be plus of 100 million, and they're going to want a lot of that money up front for just such a top player. And I don't know, like, to me, I don't think Real Madrid, I just don't think he suits like La Liga and Spanish football, to be fair. I just don't think, when I watch him as a player, I just don't think he's built for that. I think he's built for the Premier League. I really do. Everything about him is like his physical attributes, the way he gets around the pitch. Obviously, technically, he's very, very good. But in terms of his leadership and how he plays as a player, I think he is more suited to the Premier League. That's where I think he belongs. So I think Liverpool and Man City are certainly in the driving seat. I think Man City are serious about getting him. I mean, you look at KDB, he's been on the bench. He's 31 now. I'm not saying he's like for like. Gundogan, he's in his 30s
early
now.
30s.
I think he's perfect for both clubs, to be honest. I can't really split them. Like, you can't say Man City wouldn't do well at Man City. He would slot straight in, like you said, with the likes of Rodri and Bellingham next to each other, with like Bernardo floating around. It'd be unreal. Same with Liverpool, though. Like you said, it depends what sort of project he wants as well. You could see him slotting straight into Liverpool's team, being that sort of catalyst, that box-to-box all-action midfielder, captain, leading by example, everybody just thriving off him. And I can see the move working for both Premier League clubs, to be fair. So it's going to be interesting to see. And we're not even in May yet. Do you know what I mean? The summer's not even started yet. Like, we're nowhere near it. And
it's only March, and we've got some journalists writing it off, some journalists saying it's still on. You just don't know what way to look. I've said before, I wouldn't mind hibernating until the 1st of September. Just wake me up and say, Scott, you signed Jude Bellingham. And I'll be like, oh, yes.
I think with Ornstein's article, though, he didn't say it was off. He said it was unlikely. And that again, like you said, it may have been an assumption, but I think that's purely down to the transfer fee. He didn't really mention other factors in the article. I've read it all. I don't think he mentioned, like he said, in regards to like the Champions League football. And that is an easy assumption to make. Like, if you don't get in the Champions League, he's not joining. Like, we've seen plenty of examples of top players going to clubs who are in the Europa League. But it does depend on the money. Are you willing to pay the money? Are you willing to pay the wages? Are you willing? Do you know what I mean? The players are going are going to want to be paid the right money if they're going to go to a Europa League club, because you've got to think of it from Bellingham's point of view. I can go Man City, get paid 250 grand a week and play Champions League football and compete for the title every year. Or I can go to Liverpool. Yes, I've got all that nostalgia and all that history and be the new Gerrard, but I'm not playing Champions League football, and it might take me a couple of years to compete for the league again. It's something that he definitely needs to weigh up. So it's where his heart and where his head is, to be fair. So we'll have to see.
And that could be another stumbling block, couldn't it? Imagine we have Michael Edwards. Who's the guy that's leaving?
I forgot his name now.
I should know.
I know he
but anyway,
there, yeah.
Imagine we go in and try to lowball him and start trying to talk that he's only 19. Let's talk about incremental contracts. So 2 years at this, 2 years at that. I mean, I've just come straight in as a top earner or on par with Salah, but knowing Liverpool and FSG would probably try and lowball him, start him off on 120, say the second year will be 180, knowing that he could go straight to Man City on $250,000 a week straight away, like you say, in the Champions League.
He ain't gonna take that, bro. Of course he's not.
Yeah, that's the thing. So you see people talking about the project. He wants to work with Jurgen Klopp. He wants to emulate Steven Gerrard, but there's also the nuts and bolts of it as well, and the sensibility of it. We could still mess it up from that point, because unless something underhand's gone on, there won't have been any contract talks yet, will there? Because that's tapping up, isn't it?
And his agent obviously will have been speaking to these clubs now, like whether it's legal or not. He'll know what's on the table or what's going to be on the table. And he's going to be saying to Liverpool, hold on a sec, Man City have offered my client this. Like, what? How are you matching this? That's what happens. Do you know what I mean? This is what's on the table. How are you mitigating against that? And that's literally what it's going to be. And at the end of the day, if he does want to join Liverpool over like a Man City or Real Madrid, which would be unbelievable, Coop, if you manage to get Jude Bellingham over those two clubs, I must say you've done unbelievable. Because normally, not even so much Man City, but when Real Madrid come calling seriously, it's an Mbappe thing, ain't it? Like, you've got to be made a president of a football club like Mbappe to stay. That's literally it. Like, unless you are being made a president or you're on a ridiculous wage, there's no way if Real Madrid come, you're not going there. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to take something special for Liverpool to stop him from going there if they're serious about getting him. So
I'll
see.
give him the
Definitely.
Liverpool presidency right now. I mean, I'd give him the captain's armband straight away. Here you go. Number 8 shirt, captain's armband. This is it for the next 10 years. And the beautiful thing about it is it's not even like he would be rushing to Real Madrid at like 22, 23. He could even do a good 7 or 8 years with hopefully Liverpool, or it could be Man City, and then go to Real Madrid for his peak years around the age of 27, 28. So, like I say, I just don't know what way it's going to go. Football Ferreira's in. Jose, my man. Bellingham can go anywhere. He'll fit in any team in the world apart from Barca. So I don't know, mate. I don't know. Frankie de Jong is in the reports again today, but he's distancing himself away from a Barca exit to Man United anyway.
He loves Barca.
Dalival, I think he was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still here. Madrid and Barca are the dream for any footballer. Absolutely, Jose.
Yeah.
And that's what we're always up again. And like I just mentioned before, you know, give me Jude Bellingham for 4, 5, 6 years and then happily wave him off to Real Madrid, because you'll make your money back. You'd have a profit on it. Absolutely. Unless he falls off a cliff, of course.
He ain't falling off a cliff. He's one of them that's just like, physically, he is just so far ahead of where he should be. Like,
he's a specimen, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm not talking about height. I'm talking about presence. I'm talking about intimidation. I'm talking about you look in the whites of his eyes and he just don't take no crap. Like, you just wouldn't want to fancy yourself in a midfield battle with him, because he can tackle, he can pass, he can shoot, he can run, he can out sprint you. He's got stamina for days. He'll just run the whole game. There's literally not one facet of his game that he hasn't got at such a young age. And the scary thing is he can get better. Like, if he gets coached under Klopp or Pep, he'll be unbelievable, mate.
You take the words out of my mouth. He goes to the World Cup and he's the best in the England team. It just turned 19.
Yeah.
Like how on earth is that even possible?
I know. I don't think you can restrict his game either. Like, to me, with a player with them kind of attributes, you can't make a sitting midfielder. You've just got to say you do what you want. Do you know what I mean? Do what you want. Obviously, have discipline and you shape out off the ball, but when you're in possession, go and join in, go and link up, go and do anything you want. Like, because he can score goals as well. Like, we've seen it for Dortmund. He chips in with a few goals, and he's just the ultimate complete midfielder. He really is. And whoever gets him is going to be really lucky. I mean, from a Man United perspective, we've got an extremely outside chance. But, I mean, we need a striker more than we do a midfielder. So I just can't see us, like, spending that amount of money that he's going to cost when we need other priorities. So I think that rules United out of that race massively. So I think it's between Liverpool, Manchester City and Real Madrid. I don't think anybody else can either afford him or attract him, to be fair. I don't think he wants to go to PSG. I look at their team and that league. I just don't think it's competitive enough for him. I think the Premier League is, or like a Real Madrid, where he's going to be battling it out at the top of the Champions League. I just think they're the only destinations for him.
Well, you're watching Mbappe waste the best years of his career at PSG, don't you? Getting nowhere near scooping European cups, just scooping league after league that no one really cares about. But another danger with Liverpool, isn't it? I feel bad, right? If you hand me Jude Bellingham now, like, I'm crossing my fingers, my toes, my legs. I'd love him. Like, literally, I've said in a previous stream, I'd probably shed a tear if we signed Jude Bellingham. Right? FSG, if you're watching, I'll go straight out and I'll buy home, away, and third kit tops with Bellingham number 8 on the back for me, my kids. I'll even buy my wife one. Okay. But the danger here is he's not going to be enough for us. Like, and that's another reason why I don't think we'll be in for him. Let's say FSG somehow sanctioned the release of £120 million. The state our midfield is in now, we need to use that 120 wisely to sign 2, maybe even a push 3 solid midfielders. Mason Mount has been linked non-stop with Liverpool, like it's almost a done deal. You got Mateus Nunes at Wolves. Caicedo's going to leave Brighton this summer. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Alexis McAllister is linked with Liverpool, but that might just be Liverpool Twitter fans I've read. But he could potentially be leaving. There's so many midfielders. James Maddison could be leaving Leicester. Yuri Tielemans could be leaving Leicester. All these midfielders. It's another reason why I think I'll probably change my mind 4 times just in this stream.
Mate, how big is this budget? How big is this budget, mate?
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you look at someone like Yuri Tielemans, who's out of contract, another player, Mason Mount, is in the last year. I can see FSG trying to go cheap and scooping a 40 million Mason Mount, giving James Milner another contract, maybe scooping Mateus Nunes, who's rumoured to be available for about 50 million, which I don't know how, because they only bought him for 45. So surely if they bought him, he's done well in the Prem, it adds a premium of 20, 30 million on his price tag. But I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of it. But that is the worry, is that are you just dropping a Jude Bellingham in a midfield with a 33-year-old Henderson and a 30-year-old Fabinho? Or you're dropping Bellingham in Fabinho's place and having a 32-year-old Thiago? It's just, it's not filling me with the confidence that he'll be the answer to all our prayers. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think there's been some really mixed news about Liverpool over the past couple of days, to be fair. Like you said, with the players potentially staying on contracts and stuff. I think as a fan, as a Liverpool fan, I think you really need to brace yourself for one of those names that you probably don't want to staying, like a Milner or a Henderson. I think you need to get in your head, or a Thiago, that one of the, like, you're not going to get a whole new midfield. You're not going to get 3 new midfielders. To me, Fabinho isn't finished. I know he divides the Liverpool fan base at the minute in terms of his performance, but I think he's just had a very indifferent season. I think he's still got plenty left in the tank, to be perfectly honest with you. And all of a sudden, if he gets back to his best and you add Bellingham to that, it adds a powerful 2. And then I think what Klopp's got to work out is the direction he goes with going forward. Obviously, Bobby Firmino has been an integral part with how Liverpool's played over the past few years as that false nine. And he's sort of like meant that you've not had to buy a creative midfielder because he's sort of done that job. Like, he's never really been judged on getting 20 goals a season because of everything else that he's sort of brought to the team. And he was that person that was seen to knit everything together. So is Gakpo going to be that player that occupies a similar role, or is he going to go a totally different way and go back to the Coutinho days when you did have like an attacking midfielder who was purely judged on creating, like being a very creative like spark from midfield? And that's where if you are going to get Mason Mount, he does fit that bill. Like, that's what I'm saying. Is he going to be that person who's going to be relied upon to sort of do that thing if you do manage to acquire Mount? So it's going to be interesting to see. I think how Klopp wants to play will sort of dictate the signings that you get. If he wants to go back to that sort of 2-8s, the box to boxes, he might go Bellingham and then Tielemans on a free. That might work with Fabinho. I mean, there's no reason why that can't work, because you've got Bellingham who can do the all action, the box to box, and then you got the Tielemans with that little eye for a pass, and he's got that creative passing range. That might work. Or he might go a Mount Tielemans if you want to go for the cheaper option. I think the good thing for Liverpool is the players that you've been linked with to come in are good players. They're all decent players. But the question is what you're going to do with the existing players. Are you going to be ruthless? Are you going to clear a couple of those out? Maybe Thiago and like Milner goes and Henderson stays. So again, it's all up in the air, but I think a lot of it will be dictated on how Klopp wants to play going forward. And that's going to be the biggest decision, the coaching, for me.
I've mentioned it before as well. We can't rule out a shape change either to a Manchester United 4-2-3-1. The way he's built the front three, where we've got right now, we've got 6, but Firmino's leaving. I mentioned it before. So Gakpo would be in the hole, Diaz on the left, Salah on the right, with Nunez up top. Then you would need obviously 2 box-to-box combative midfielders, much like looking for the same kind of impact that Casemiro's had at Man United, and Bellingham obviously would fill that massively. And then really you're only looking for one more then, and that could be the golden boy Bajcetic. Thiago could flourish alongside Bellingham, or like you say, we could bring in someone else, which I can't see it. If we ever get Bellingham, that's going to be us run the coffers run dry for like a year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe. But if, like, let's say FSG did come through, I still don't understand how they would release the funds, how they'd get the funds, because I can't imagine Dortmund being up for a HP higher purchase will give you 20 million a year for the next 5 years, because they'll want to spend that money on some reinforcements themselves, finding the next 25 million nuggets. They'll probably bring in 4 of them, and then we'll all scout them and want to buy them off them for 100 million in 2 or 3 years' time. But if they did, I mean, obviously FSG lent Liverpool the money to build the stands. It was either a low interest rate or 0 interest. So that's us paying FSG back for that. So if they lend us the money to build the stand, surely they would lend us the money to buy some players as well and put this whole self-sustained model to bed for a couple of years, because the players are like the club. Okay, if the stand is falling apart, that's the same as a midfielder has lost his legs and come of age. You need to retool, as I've seen a journalist call it. You need to reinvest in another 22-year-old midfielder or a 22-year-old player who's got 10 years ahead of them that can give you 10 years service. And it's almost like an asset. Obi's mentioned an asset before. Buying a player is like an asset. It is a risky asset, of course, because it could go anyway. You could end up like Dele Alli. Can you imagine Jude Bellingham ends up like Dele Alli? Like there's always that danger. So it's not like bricks and mortar building a new stand, which FSG, of course,
you know what the result before you build it. Do you know what I mean? With that, like you said, with the player, there is a lot more risk attached. I think the big thing is, like you said, in terms of the owners and what their ambitions are. I think as fans, they never really communicate what they're satisfied with. I mean, the biggest example I can give of that is Arsene Wenger. He used to get top 4 for years on end, and the board never ever put any pressure on him until the fans started kicking off. That was the only reason he really got sacked, because they put pressure on him. So who actually knows what Klopp's remit is going to be while you're building this stand? They might be happy with a top 4 finish, and you might see him staying for a prolonged amount of time, and the fans might be saying, oh, well, we're not challenging for the league, we're not challenging for the Champions League. It might not matter. It depends how thick-skinned your owners are. I mean, look at the Glazers as well. We've not competed for the league since Fergie left. Realistically, we've finished second a few times, but we've been nowhere near the league, and they've still stayed. I know they've sacked managers and stuff, but it's been due to fallouts more than anything, not really competing for trophies and stuff. So that again is a big thing, like the ownership and what sort of remit they put on Klopp. Klopp can achieve a top 4 finish this season. Even when he's not on it, he can do that with his eyes shut, really. Do you know what I mean? I think you've only finished outside the top. Have you finished outside the top 4 since he's been here? Once when he joined, and that's it. You've always been in the top 4. Exactly. And that's how you're spending now. So like you said, it's not, I don't think the ownership are going to panic at all. That's the thing for Liverpool fans. I think a lot's been made of this season and the fact that you've not competed for the bigger trophies because you're so used to it under this manager after the first couple of years of building. And and we're going to see it from now. Like, now you've got no valuable assets to sell. Like, you've always had a Suarez or a Coutinho, and you've made that big money. Now those players, I'm not saying they're not there, but I don't think you're going to sell like a Diaz in the summer. The only player I could see, which would be quite a surprise to everyone, is like if you offloaded like a Trent Alexander-Arnold for like big money or something. And I think that would be a little bit of a shock to the fan base, especially being a homegrown talent. I don't think it would go down well with some sections. But now it's going to be interesting to see what sort of input the owners make this summer. Are they going to just say, right, well, we've got ambitions to win the big trophies again. We've not been on it this year. Let's give the club 120, 130 million or even more and see how we go with sort of no net spend return. And if you do that, you can't say anything but not necessarily praise the owners, but you can't argue with it. If they give you a couple of 100 million this year, that's all you can really ask for. You get a couple of players. Do you know what I mean?
We're cooking if that happens. That's back.
That's it.
We've got 10 people watching us. Don't forget to smash the like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe, fellas and girls. Let me jump in the comments. Jose, Football Ferreira, Bellingham wouldn't solve all Liverpool's problems, which was the midfield this season, but he would massively improve them for sure. Man, he is all-round midfield. He can do anything. He would do my ex.
No way.
Oh, great comment. Bellingham, Mateus Nunes and Mount would be my midfielders. I would sign a centre-back. Dalaval, that you've just mentioned upwards of more than 200 million there, do you think? Bellingham 120, Nunes 50, that's 170. Mount, I just quoted 40 million, that's 210 million. That's
Mount's
a lot.
going to be more than that, you know.
But at the same time, yeah, Dalaval has just said what he's just quoted. We are back, right back. You need. Travis just mentioned there, like you could maybe see a Trent leaving. I mentioned it in the last stream. I don't think the fan base would be as surprised or as angry as you might think, Trav. He takes a lot of stick, especially on Twitter. He's having a dreadful season. I'm not sure. I'm not saying he's written off as a right back. I'm not saying he's written off as a Liverpool player. People keep mentioning he could go into midfield, but he's struggling, and it's a long way back into people's affections. But imagine his best mate, Jude Bellingham, signs. Imagine the boost that would give you for his morale. He'd be absolutely buzzing. Josie says Trent needs competition and Trent needs someone like onto the ball to talk to him because his defense just got worse than my ex with 2 open legs. I'm going to move on in case there's any kids watching. If it is just Jude and no one else, then I'd sacrifice Jude for other midfielders like Gavi, Nunes, Neves, and Ugarte, and way more. That's the thing. Dalavar, I think you might go down that route.
Ugarte is a good player. He played against Arsenal the other day for Sporting Lisbon, and he got sent off in the end, but he is a top draw player. Again, another player who... This is the thing, like, I think when you're signing certain players like these big household names, some of the prices are inflated. I mean, look, we discussed it today in the WhatsApp group. I mean, Mason Mount, they're looking at like 60, 70 million for Mason Mount. I think that's just like... it seems like that's the going rate for a player now. Do you know what I
it's
mean?
crazy, isn't it?
It's mad to think how it's moved. And yeah, United are guilty of that with the Pogba deal all that time ago when we paid 90 million for him. Yeah, and yeah, definitely. Like, I can't disagree with that. United have been a catalyst for that, so we are to blame partly for it. But I just think like
Chelsea, Madrid.
Yes, the scouting. Some of the scouting these smaller clubs do, and some of the players they're able to pick up is just second to none. Like Brighton's, like the biggest example of that. Like with Matoma and Caicedo, and they're signing all these players, McAllister. And then clubs like us, we end up paying 70, 80 million from. Like, what are our scouts? Do we even scout players at our clubs? Do we actually scout players, or do we just look for big names? It's just crazy sometimes.
We just sack our scouting department, don't we? And then try to handpick players from Brentford, Brighton. It's not on, is it? No. We want to be signing the Matomas before they get to Brighton.
Mate,
what is our scouting department doing? I think they might be on strike with the teachers and the railway workers. Dalaval says if Jude wants Liverpool, then we will get him. If he rejects us, then it will be an impossible deal. Absolutely. This is going to be down to Jude and his family. We've already mentioned his dad. He's rumoured to be a Liverpool fan, and Dan from Two Blues is our inside in the know as well. And he knows someone that's close to the family.
He's already said it's a done deal, isn't it?
He's called it.
We'll be holding him to account if it don't come off, mate. We'll be having him on the show, mate.
Dan, I have a lot to answer to if we see Jude Bellingham in a Man City shirt. The Unexamined Life. How you doing, mate? Thanks for tuning in. We follow each other on Twitter. Top man. We spent 12.9 million net last summer, but we still won't sign Jude. Pure gaslight by FSG. Every time I look at it, mate, I keep saying, I allow myself to get carried away and think, it's on. He's best mates with Trent. His dad wants us to come. He wants to come back to England. But then I keep pointing back to FSG. I remember who our owners are. 30 million net spend, if we're lucky, every year for 13 years. How on earth are we ever going to get 120 million sanctioned unless there's some big outs going, which we haven't even touched on yet? I've tipped Luis Diaz to leave in the summer. Jose, if you're still there, I think he's going to join Barca for around 100 million. And I've got a feeling that's how we're going to try and finance a Bellingham deal. I've got a feeling that's why we're blooding Darwin Núñez on the left, Gakpo in the centre. I've got a feeling even Jota could leave. I just don't think we're going to try and keep 5 top quality forwards happy in a front 3. I just can't see it. I think we've got some master plan.
What would the Liverpool fans rather have? Would they rather have 3 top quality midfielders, or would they rather have Jude and sort of keep what they've got with like Fabinho and Thiago now? How are the fan base feeling about that sort of thing?
The Jude has gone on for so long now. I will be absolutely heartbroken if he goes to Real Madrid or Man City. I'm so invested in him emotionally. All I want is Jude Bellingham. If they sign Jude Bellingham, okay, and it could be this rumoured formation switch to a 4-2-3-1, keep that front 5. So you've got the 5. Bobby's going to leave. So you'll have Jota, Diaz, Núñez, Gakpo, and Salah. 5 top quality forwards in 4 positions with a bit of formation change. Then, to use your terminology, we're cooking.
Yeah.
Dalaval says, I think my realistic midfield would be Jude, Mount, and Matheus Núñez. My dream midfield, Jude, Ugarte, and Matheus Núñez. Dalaval is a big Matheus Núñez fan. Obi, onto the ball trifecta, has said he's not that keen on Matheus Núñez. And people on Twitter are saying that he doesn't even get a game. And the Wolves fans wouldn't mind seeing him leave. So he can't be that highly thought of, really.
Wow.
Klopp has a good relationship with Dortmund. So if Klopp could convince them to do a cut price or something like that. But if it goes to bidding war, then we're not getting him, sadly.
There is going to be no cut price on this kid, mate.
Yeah.
Like, get the cut price out of your head. He's going to be the most expensive midfielder that's ever been transferred. Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt, he's going to be the most expensive midfielder that's ever been transferred, central player. It's going to be ridiculous, mate.
But do you know what? I haven't even thought about Klopp's relationship with Dortmund. That's a great point that Dalaval's made there. Haven't even thought about that. I mean, he must still be friendly with the club. Not that that's going to get him 30 million off as the price Jude Bellingham. All right, here you go, Jurgen. You're a nice guy. Have him for 99 million. But it helps with all the negotiations, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But Man City's relationship, well, it might not be that good because they basically stole Haaland, didn't they?
Yeah.
I know they would have signed the release clause, having it in there, but when it actually gets activated and they lose a top quality world star cut price, it could leave you feeling a bit bitter, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Josh Truguna is in the chat. Josh, how you doing, brother? Thanks for joining. Top man. If anyone's in this chat that hasn't followed Truguna, he's up to nearly 4K. His streams at Ace. I tune into everyone. Make sure you tune into them and my man Football Ferreira as well. Really glad you guys are joining. FSG do have money. They're not giving Klopp the money and using Mount as an excuse for not getting Jude Bellingham. FSG out. Yeah, that is exactly what my Twitter feed looks like, Dalaval. It is all FSG out. It's all talking about the Mason Mount smoke screen to try and defer.
Do you know what I want to? Do you know what I want to see in a couple of months? Like Milner, Hendo getting the new deal, holding up the shirt 5 years, signing it, mate.
The thing is, you can see it happening, can't you? Especially mate. James Milner. When I seen it today,
3-year deal, Milner, mate. First
45-year-old. Please. It makes no sense to give Milner a new deal. We've got to ship him out or put him on the coaching staff. Ship him out with Oxlade-Chamberlain. Ship him out with Naby Keita. Take Curtis Jones with you as well. He's just not going to make the grade.
I genuinely think Milner will get a 1-year deal. You know, I honestly do think he will.
I think he will as well.
I think Klopp loves him. I think Klopp loves everything about him in terms of his professionalism and what he brings to the dressing room. He is a great pro. I'm not taking it away from him. He's been an unbelievable Premier League servant, but he shouldn't be starting Champions League games away at Real Madrid and stuff. That's just mad, mate. It's crazy, mate.
It was crazy.
It really is. Yeah.
I'm so gutted OB can't make it tonight, but I was going to say he bit my head off in our Liverpool group chat. He didn't bite my head off, but he did point out, look, if Thiago was fit, if Hendo was fit, he wouldn't have been starting. But I was like, but they weren't fit, and he did start. Yeah. In 2023, James Milner is starting away to Real Madrid. FSG, what have you done to my club? Josh, Jude to Arsenal, please. Jesus Christ, Josh. We haven't even contemplated him going to Man United yet, which Trav has got a couple of toes crossed at least.
Mate, I'd love it. It ain't happening to United. I'm ruling that out right now. He's not coming United. He's not coming United. We ain't going to buy a top striker for like over 100 million, maybe like in an Osman or something, and then spend another 100 plus on Bellingham. That is just rip the club apart. So yeah, that ain't happening, mate. Not at all.
But I don't know, the way Kroenke's throwing the money about, Josh, he's what has he spent now? 500 million in 3 years.
I'm hearing Declan Rice is more or less done to Arsenal, though. Like, I'm hearing strong rumours about Rice going to Arsenal, who would be an unbelievable signing next to Thomas Partey. That would just be unreal. Honestly, it would be such a good signing. He's just said it now.
Dalaval just said it, Declan Rice. And my man Dan Two Blues, his ears are going to be burning. Dan, are you in the chat? Let me know if you're there. He's give us another inside info that Declan Rice to Arsenal is virtually done.
What a midfield that is.
Dalaval, he'd be a class signing for us, to be fair. Yeah, I've always said
Declan Imagine Rice Partey, Rice, Odegaard.
Yeah. Jesus.
That's scary, mate. Scary, mate. And then if they get a top, no disrespect to Jesus, but if they get a goal scorer as well, like just someone who just wants to put the ball in the back of the net, because obviously Jesus is excellent in terms of his link up and his work rate and everything else that he does. But I don't think he's that nasty goal scorer that they still need. I still think they need another striker, you know, because obviously when he's been out and Nketiah's done a job. But if they had not Haaland, but if they just had a striker that just put the ball in the back of the net, mate, they will be unbelievable. They'll be such a good side. They already are a top side, but if they get a striker and Declan Rice, mate.
I'm not even sure if they need a striker. They've got Saka and Martinelli, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? It's like Salah and Mane reincarnated.
And Trossard's done well. So
Trossard's come in, hit the ground running. I'm well jealous. But drop Jude in there and absolutely cooking. Diaz is such a class player. Injuries let him down. I know it's absolutely wrecked our season. People keep going on about missing Sadio Mane, but it's only because Luis Diaz has been injured.
Yeah.
Talking about bad luck. Oh, he was amazing in that run towards the quad last year that we didn't happen to get over the line.
Yeah, he was very good.
Luis Diaz will not leave. James Pearce said he's a key part of our future. Yeah, look, if we're talking about the players who I called him the jewel in our crown at the minute, he probably is our best player. Maybe, I don't know, Salah, Virgil's dropped off a bit, but Luis Diaz is probably our star player. But for that reason, he'd bring in the most money. And if you know FSG as much as I do, Dalaval, they love to buy for 40 million and sell for 100 million if it happens. And one thing you can't miss is that they might be regretting not offloading Salah and Mane just before they started dipping after their peak. They might have looked at it and thought, we should have sold Mane for 100 million. We should have sold Salah for 100 million. Let's not make that mistake again. We've got to keep the wheel turning. We've got to keep regenning the squad. You know, if someone wants to buy a 28-year-old, nearly 29-year-old for 100 million, let it, and then we go and buy the next 40 million, 22, 23-year-old. You just don't know what they're thinking. I just don't trust the owners, basically.
Yeah, I think they'll keep Diaz. I think you'll keep him.
But that's the thing, when I don't trust FSG, if we're getting Bellingham, I smell a rat.
Yeah.
And they've got a plan to do something like that, something underhand, something.
To be fair, though, I saw a report on Diogo Jota being linked with a move away for 70 million. And I was like, I'd do that 100%. Yeah. 70 million for him, 100%. It's not that he's not a good player, but like he's probably not even going to start over like Nunes and Gakpo, and you've got Diaz coming back. That's good business to me. If you can get 70 million for Jota, I would definitely do that. If that was to go towards the Bellingham fee, 100%.
Definitely.
100%. Yeah.
As we know, Jota is easily fifth choice in that front three. So it's not even like you're talking about getting rid of Diaz or Nunes or Gakpo's just come in, so you won't be. Salah's been linked with PSG. You're not even talking about that. You're talking about your fifth choice here.
Yeah.
And that's, as we've mentioned before, it's going to be hard for Klopp to keep them all happy, to be honest. Dalaval says it will be a disgrace if we do not get Jude, as we've waited 2 years for Jude and we wasted 2 years on Jude. Would be gutted if he does go to Madrid or Man City. Absolutely, mate. But again, me and Trav mentioned earlier in the stream, like, what is our scouting network doing? Jude was available 2 or 3 years ago for 25 million. Apparently, we've scouted him all the way from youth football, and his parents come up to Liverpool to talk about a deal. They didn't feel it was right at the time or something like that. But just make it happen. Stop him going to Madrid if you've scouted him for 5, 6, 7 years. This is the thing that frustrates you. It was the same when we were apparently linked with Alisson for 5 years before we got him. Just get him before he goes to Roma for 10 million or whatever it was.
I know.
Milner needs to go. Absolutely. Get him out. Not get him out like... Do you know what I mean? I'm not talking
not
like
maliciously, but he needs to.
Yeah, not like he's Christian Poulsen. Get him out of my club, or Paul Konchesky at left back from Fulham. Like, that was literally get him out of my club. It's not like that. He's had his time. He's been a great servant. We've already got someone like Henderson being our elder statesman in the squad to be the experience that the younger players call on.
Do you think top four? Do you think top four is going to impact your business overall then, or not? Like, forget Jude, just in general. Do you think it will?
No, like we said before, when you just think of the nuts and bolts of how the world works, money, turnover, income, of course it will. It'd be huge if we didn't get it. Let's be honest. You're talking about income of what, 80 to 100 million pounds? If you go to the latter stages, that's how much it could be worth. Our profit last year was 7 million. So that just shows, if we're only making a 7 million pound profit when we nearly won the quad, got to the Champions League final.
if you're not even in it.
Imagine
You're
you
not gonna,
take that 100 million away. All of a sudden, we can't afford Salah's contract.
Yeah, I know.
Never mind Jude Bellingham's.
Yeah.
Dalavo says, I think we'd lose attacking depth. Jota and Firmino. We would have Nunes, Salah, Gakpo. That's it. So have to disagree.
But you'd have Nunes. You'd have not Nunes. You'd have Diaz as well, who is not mentioned. So that would be 4.
Yeah, Diaz.
And then if you've got a youngster that's coming through, like United are doing with Garnacho, it all depends what the manager prioritizes. Do you know what I mean? You've got that Ben Doak who's highly thought of. He might get an opportunity. Do you know what I mean? So when one door closes, another one opens, and I think sometimes
that might be like where FSG have learnt the lesson with not offloading the front 3 sooner than that. To, like you say, regen the squad and use the income wisely. But the thing about as well, because we're not uber rich and we're run by FSG, who run a tight ship, self-sustained. I keep saying I'm going to get that tattooed on my forehead, self-sustained, Trav. But if we have a firing front 3, right, and let's be honest, right now you'd be talking. I know Gakpo's been mooted in the Firmino role, which gives the inverted wingers opportunity to come in. But if you got a cup final Saturday, you're playing Diaz on the left, Nunes in the middle, and Salah on the right. The difference then is you've got huge players with ambition on the bench of Gakpo. Firmino's obviously leaving, but Jota. Whereas when it was Mane, Firmino, and Salah, you had real bit part players that were not worthless, but just they could do a job. They could fill in, grab you the odd vital goal here and there. They were kind of cult heroes like Divock Origi, Taki Minamino, and that's these are not bit part players. You're talking about Gakpo. You're talking about Jota. These are guys with a heavy
big
price
ballers.
tag, ambition, big ballers who they're going to, let's be honest, they expect to be in the first 11. And obviously the easy one to leave out of there is Jota, because he's just, I've said it before, he's never found his feet fully in the team, found a position where like he's a fixture in the side now, because he's just doing so well. He's always been in and out, mainly due to injuries, but mainly because he's never got a run of a whole season. He's been injured pretty much every season in the last 3 years since we bought him. So he would be the easy option to say would leave. I forgot about Diaz. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it would not be bad.
No, I don't think so. If you can get 70 million for Jota to fund Bellingham and promote Ben Doak and Diaz comes back, I'd do it. I would do it all day. Do you know what I mean? That's what United need to do. We need to get rid of a Martial or an Elanga and chop some dead wood, promote Garnacho like we have this year, promote Palestri, get them more involved, because that's what your academy is for. Not to save your club money, but it's good to promote some youngsters that have been training with the first team and giving those homegrown players opportunities. And like you said, I think it would be good for Liverpool to do that. You've always done it. You've done it with Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's been a success. Whether he moves on or not is irrelevant. Like he's come through the academy. I think it's good to promote those opportunities for young players to come through and feel like they've been given a chance, whether they go on loan and come back and stuff. But that's what the biggest clubs do all over Europe. So I think that would be an option that Liverpool may look into. Like you said, Jota's one of those players who's on the fringes at the moment. He's a talented player. But if you've got an asset on them wages that's available for 70 million and you can get him off the wage bill and promote a youngster and get Bellingham, I think personally that's good business.
I do. But when it was the idea was floated on Twitter, the majority of the fan base, from what I read anyway, were angry about it.
Really?
Blaming FSG, sell to buy and all that. And, you don't agree with everything on Twitter, do you?
No.
Normally it is, FSG out and the running as like Southampton, stuff like that. But on that one, I was thinking, if we could get decent money in for him, 60, 70 million, he's 5th choice striker or 6th behind Firmino, even though he's leaving in the summer. Why can't everyone see that would be a good bit of business? You're not going to keep them all happy. Let's be honest.
No. From the outside looking in as well, like this is the first real time there's been like sort of not pressure on the ownership. It's been going on for years, but like, and in terms of the net spend as well. But since Klopp's joined, like, I think the transition's been pretty smooth up until this point. Like, when he first came, he had a lot of work to do, got rid of players. Then you went with like Clavens and Kariuses. That didn't work. Then you just upgraded those players, but you're still getting to Champions League finals. You're still like finishing in the top four. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't as bad as how it probably felt to the Liverpool fans. I mean, obviously United were doing worse than you, so I was always looking at Liverpool saying, yeah, they're moving in the right direction all the time. And it's always easier as a fan when you look at your own club to be more pessimistic than what's actually happening. But you've never been too far away on the Klopp's reign. You had 2 years of building, then you've always competed for the biggest trophies, whether that be in the Champions League or the league, up until this year where you've not really won it. You're not going to win anything this year. So I think this is going to be the test. Now Klopp's been here. This will be his 8th full season coming up. How you back him, and whether he's still got that oomph to want to rebuild a side and really go again. So I think it starts again. He's sort of starting again. It's going to be interesting to see. But I'm licking my lips, mate. I'm ready to see how it all unfolds, brother. I really am.
The thing is, like, if you think of the team, like you say, he built his team. Yeah, we went through the Clavens and the Kariuses and all that. And they were difficult times, of course, and he did end up getting it right. But if you think of the team that got it right, that won the league, won the European Cup, they're all 30. So you can see the progression there and how we've needed to refresh. And maybe even Klopp will have a bit of regret. Maybe, like we've mentioned before, he's too... what's the word? He's too loyal to players. He hasn't offloaded. But when you think of Salah, Firmino, Mane, all in the 30s, Wijnaldum, Henderson, Milner, all in the 30s, Van Dijk, Matip, 30s, Alisson's 30. So you can actually see the team aging before our very eyes. And it's all about having that ability to regen, replace, sell at the right time, which we've probably got it wrong at the minute. But he looks like he wants to have the opportunity to fix it, to spend the money. FSG are saying the right things, like they want to compete. They're going to give them the platform to compete. That just the $1 million question is, are they going to do it? Are they going to provide this money in the summer?
And it might take a couple of years, though. It might take a couple of years again, though, because it took him 2 years to get that team that you just reeled off. But if you look at what you've got underneath what you've just mentioned, and you think of Nunes, 23 or whatever, Gakpo, 20 something, you've got Badge, he's 20. Robertson's, how old's Robertson?
Just turned 29.
Exactly. Trent, he's 20 what? He's still
23,
young.
24.
Konate, how old's he?
Konate, yeah, 22, 23.
Do you know what I mean? So I've just reeled off 6, 7 players who like not even at the peak yet. So do you know what I mean? All of a sudden you add 6 players to that over 2 windows. You might only need 3 signings. All of a sudden you see next year or the year after you're competing for the biggest trophies again. Like you said, you're never as far away as you think you are. And it can
our mantra, isn't it?
That's it, mate. Yeah, that's it. It can seem more doom and gloom, but there are a lot of components there that are good about Liverpool and their business. I know you've made some dodgy signings as well, but I think there's a lot of good there as well. Like you said, Gakpo, Nunes, Badge, Trent, if he stays, Robertson. There's players there that can be added to, and you can make another team again.
Dalaval says Jota for 70 million would be a steal for us, but what if he goes to Newcastle or a rival club? I think you've answered yourself there. If 70 million's a steal, I wouldn't care where he goes, to be honest. And the fact that we'd happily wave him off for 70 million, it must mean that we recognise that he's never really been a fixture in the side. And, you know, he seems like a real decent lad. We should be shaking his hand and patting him on the back and wishing him all the best. He's not going to make a side on his own. But yeah, he would make someone like Newcastle stronger. Would they be a rival to us? The way they're going to spend, of course. But, you know, like I say, you're not going to keep all these players happy all the time. There's inevitably going to be some outs. And not just because FSG force us to sell to buy, you're not going to keep them all happy. There might be 1 or 2 of them just saying, look, I'm in and out the side. I think I'm better than that. I'm going to move on. Dalaval, unless we change system to 4-2-3-1, yep, said it earlier, then I'd keep him. But I do not see Klopp doing that. I do. Dalaval, if you drop in 2 monster midfielders there, Bellingham and Who would I like? I'd like
Caicedo, mate.
Caicedo, yeah. Bellingham and Caicedo, and then Diaz, Gakpo, Salah with Nunez up top. We are absolutely cooking. We're back, baby. If we do not get Champions League, I'm worried about money. Yeah, absolutely, mate. 100 million is not to be sniffed at. 1 year in Champions League is like 90% of a Jude Bellingham. So put it that way, Champions League football could literally be, and forget whether Bellingham would want to come to us or not, with or without Champions League football. If we get it, it would pay for Jude Bellingham. So it might be a no-brainer that it's Champions League or bust. We've done it almost to death. Travis, we've got to talk about Man United in that mad game on Sunday. How lucky were Man United with Fulham absolutely losing their heads and throwing it away like that? Because you got absolutely cooked, and I was loving it. And I thought, there goes your treble cup competition. And it was only 2 hours after we released your video about the
that's the thing.
Treble chances.
And that's what I was thinking. I've just released that flipping video talking about the treble chances, and we're going out already. I was fuming.
I was picturing it. Someone like Dan in Two Blues would have written, "This aged well."
I know, but the funny thing was, I messaged a group chat on Twitter saying we need some luck to get back into this game because we ain't scoring otherwise. And the bit of luck we had was the fact that Sancho didn't just roll it into the net, because Willian was forced to save it, and they ended up with 9 men and the manager being sent off within the matter of a couple of minutes. And that's exactly what we needed to turn the game, or else we would have 100% went out. We were drowning. We were struggling out there in every single department. We were getting bullied by Mitrovic. The midfield battle was being lost. When we tried to play out, I mean, if you think of the spine we had, obviously De Gea has his deficiencies with his distribution. Then you've got Maguire, who just takes ages on the ball.
Maguire's got his disabilities.
So he takes ages on the ball. Then you've got McTominay, who, again, I don't want to make this a player bashing exercise, but he literally, when any centre-half gets the ball, he doesn't show for the ball. He does not want to receive it. He's actually scared to receive it on the back foot. So you're not going to be able to play through the lines. And then you've got Weghorst, who, if he's not pressing, he's not doing anything else. So he doesn't run in behind. Fulham could get high, push, squeeze the play. They knew they had no threat in behind, and they knew we couldn't play out from the back. So it was literally, from a tactical and individual player perspective, it was a recipe for disaster. And that's what happened for 70 minutes. It was literally a disaster. We couldn't get out. Fulham were just having so much joy. Fullbacks doing what they wanted. And obviously, don't take any credit away from the goal that they scored. It was a well-worked set piece, you know. Like, it's obviously a ball into Diop and that, and he's just flicked it around the corner. It's a good finish. And I was just thinking, yeah, we ain't getting back into this game. But I think Willian made 2 mistakes, like on the halfway line, chasing Anthony, like trying to mark in front of Anthony, trying to nick the ball. All he has to do is be goal side of Anthony. He doesn't try and have to nick the ball before we start counter-attacking from the corner. That was the first mistake he made. Then obviously the handball, Mitrovic's reaction, it was a mess for Fulham. Fulham fans must have been fuming, because like they were just in so much control of the game, and then for it to just turn on its head like that, I was buzzing, because I was like, there's no other way we were going to get back into the game apart from what happened. And I was just very, very relieved. I must say, I was very, very relieved to go through to the semis. So yeah, treble's still on, boys.
I've just made this full screen. I don't know how I've done it. There we go. We're back. But yeah, from what I was watching, I was loving it, because Man United looked shattered. And I was thinking, this is it. The season's catching up with you, chasing or competing on 4 fronts. And I thought, this is going to be brilliant, watching it all fall apart. Dan just joined us in the comments. I don't know if you're there a minute ago, Dan, but you commented on Trav's cup treble video. And I was thinking, 2 hours after it was published, Man United go out against Fulham. And the cup treble is off. Trav's got egg on his face.
Just leave the cups to us boys this year. We'll take care of it, man. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of it, lads.
No, but yeah, you look shattered. Is that a worry? Is that the way you feel? I know you've said before you're running on empty. Ten Hag's only using 13, 14 players, but it did look quite painful.
Oh, of course. There's definitely an element of it. 100%. I don't think that impacted the game on Sunday, but there's got to be an element of it. Just more tired in the mind, switching off, like not anticipating stuff, not being first to stuff. Fulham just looked that bit sharper, that bit hungrier than us. The main problem, though, is the drop off in quality when we rest any of the first team. It's scary, man. Like, take Varane out, Martinez out, Casemiro out, and I say Martial, but he hasn't played. But like this Vegas experiment, man. It's like he's won a raffle, mate. He's won a raffle to play for United. He's won a raffle, mate. It's killing me, mate. It's killing me. And literally, I think for the rest of the season, depending on what happens, I think the next 3 league games for United are so important. We've got Newcastle away, who are 3 points behind us with a better goal difference. If they beat us, they go ahead of us. If we win that game, it puts us really in the driving seat. We'll go 6 points clear. We'll go 4 ahead of Spurs with a game in hand before they play on the Monday night, and that will put us in a strong position. And I think if we win that game, then I think he'll stick with what he's going with the Vegas and stuff. But if we don't win that game, I can genuinely see us putting Rashford up top and Sancho on the left with Bruno in the middle and Ante on the right, because I just think we can't last much longer with this lack of threat in behind. Like, we can't stretch teams. It's just disgusting, like, how teams are able to get up the pitch and squeeze the play and not let us out. Like, we can't do this for much longer. As a fan, I'm just sat there like, no, I just can't take much more of this, bro. So I think it'll all be pivotal on this Newcastle game, and it's a huge game for us. Just to, if we go there and don't lose, I'll be happy. If we just draw the game, not get beaten, just get out, and then go on to Brentford at home and Everton at home, and our home record is imperious. Been really impressed with that. So I'm looking forward to it, though. Like I said, we're still in 3 competitions. It's time for us to enjoy it. It's Ten Hag's first season. No one had really any major expectations for United. So the fact that we've already won a trophy and we're still in the hunt for 2 others, it's time for us to enjoy it as fans, really.
Are you at all worried about top 4?
Nah,
because
I just think everyone else will drop. Like, Spurs had an opportunity to go in 3rd. They just blew a 2-goal lead at Southampton. Newcastle have still got some hard games. You know what I mean? They've still got Arsenal to play. Still got, I think they've still got Spurs to play and us this weekend and that, and some tougher away trips. I just think if it always evens itself out. We've all got like 12, 11 games left. And I think we'll just all drop similar points and probably stay where we are. Do you know what I mean? We was never out of a top 4 race. Like, 8 points clear. We were clear of like Spurs, but then we've only dropped in 2 games. That's just how tight it is. Do you know what I mean? We lost to Liverpool and drew to Southampton. It's not like we've gone on a bad run where we've lost 5 in a row and people have caught us out. Nothing unsurprising has really happened apart from obviously the draw at Southampton, but the circumstances in that game, we were down to 10 men for 60 minutes. We got out with a point. It's not groundbreakingly bad. Like, underneath the top 2, everyone's been dropping points this year. It's just how it is, really. And I certainly don't put us in the bracket with that top 2 just yet. So yeah, we're gonna drop points from now to the end of the season. I know that. So yeah, I'm not worried about top 4. No.
Are you safely in tier 2 then?
Yeah, we're in tier 2, man.
Tier 2.
Yeah, we're not in tier 1 yet. We're not in tier 1. We're not in tier 1. We are a little bit behind. Well, I'd say we are behind Arsenal and City, both of them. Do you know what I mean? They're going toe to toe for the league this year. Arsenal have done great to mix it with City. But yeah, we need some stronger depth. That's the problem for us. When we've got a few players out, we look like a different team. And Ten Hag knows that. He'll be desperate to get to the summer and get some additions, and hopefully we've got new ownership by that time. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with the ownership? So we'll see. It's interesting.
I'm sure we'll do another poddy if something does happen with the ownership for Liverpool or Man United, because we're a private company. Things might be going on behind the scenes. We can only hope that FSG have had enough and they want to sell up and go.
That's it.
Until then, it's all conjecture. And let's wrap it up there, mate. It's been just over an hour.
It's been a pleasure, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks to everyone that's joined us. If you made it this far, smash the likes. And if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. And me and my man Travis will see you in the next episode. Travis, cheers, brother. Cheers, guys.
Header. But Gerrard! Oh, you beauty!